the amazing Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman match, which will be set up in small part tomorrow when Braun Strowman faces Kalisto in a dumpster match on Raw. I'm taking full credit for this one.
I legit don't know if you're joking or not.
I swear to God it's true. There's no way this is a coincidence. The first dumpster match in 19 years, 2 or 3 weeks after we talked about a dumpster match and how they had a fuck finish where a guy got sent into the wrong dumpster.
Yes.
There's just no way.
They will take it to the next degree here in 2017 where there will be 2 dumpsters, each decorated for one man.
That's right.
And you must dump him into your dumpster, not the other one.
Well, one of them is going to be
Callisto's will be like blue
red
and gold and have all cut.
The other one's going to be the 205 Live colors.
Oh, that's true.
Because that's where the loser's going. That's basically what's happening here.
I see.
I can't wait for that one. That's what they're... See, Raw wants you to watch. So that's the match they've come up with to...
To be fair, people are into Braun Strowman doing just about anything right now.
A dumpster match with Kalisto. A dumpster match. We're supposed to believe... Like, I mean, forget it's just wacky, but... We're supposed to believe that Kalisto could get Braun Strowman in a dumpster?
No, you're not.
Like, how?
You're supposed to you are supposed to say, oh boy, I get to see Braun Strowman murder a small person with furniture.
Well...
This is not being sold on drama. I can't slam them for this one.
Now, someone did note on Twitter that it is Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns, so maybe Roman will return and cost Braun Strowman a dumpster match against Kalisto.
I find that unlikely.
Dude, I find it unlikely too. I also thought it was unlikely that Jinder Mahal would be the #1 contender to the WWE Championship held by Randy Orton, and he may win.
Well, you've got me there.
I do have you there. I got everybody there. That's like, I can use that for the rest of my life. Every time someone says, I find it highly unlikely, I will always be able to use Jinder Mahal went from a 500, a 2-500 record or something like that, to the main event, fighting for the championship.
If that comes true, I'm going to need to go back and do a research project on...
You'll never find one. I've been asking for a week now.
Not just this moment, but like...
In history.
The past year. Have there been more just geeks trading the WWE Heavyweight Championship belt around?
You got to remember that...
From geek to geek.
Well, so you consider Bray Wyatt a geek?
Yes.
Okay. Randy Orton?
Not as much,
Let's see, yeah.
But he's not a... He's...
There was a period when guys like Jack Swagger were champion. There have been geeks that have held the secondary belt before. But this is supposed to be, by the way, the main belt.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is the belt that dates back to, I don't know when. This is not the belt that was handed to Hunter.
No.
In 2002 or whatever.
Nor the belt decided between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor.
Correct.
This one goes back to Bruno and Billy Graham.
That may not be true.
I'm sure.
I'm not sure how the lineage works, but... Yeah, Jinder. Let's talk about...
This is all more interesting than anything we watched tonight.
Well, we watched Ring of Honor and we watched 1 hour of NWA.
Yeah.
The NWA was preempted 30 years ago this week, but we have a WWE pay-per-view next weekend, so
yes.
we watched next week's NWA, which was only an hour long.
Which is abbreviated.
Yes.
There are lots of... Between basketball playoffs and Braves baseball games, there's a lot of preemptions for this show in the summertime. So, spring and summertime. So we'll get started with Ring of Honor here. ROH on Sinclair, April 22nd edition. It opened with the still shots from Supercard of Honor. And the Hardys were all over this. I know it was 3 weeks ago. It feels like 20 years that the Hardys were in Ring of Honor.
Well, this business is very strange.
It has been very strange.
The Hardys were just in Ring of Honor. Now they're in WWE. Matt Sydal returned on this show right after he returned at the TNA tapings for a future show.
Swell.
So I presume he's not going to be in Ring of Honor for a long time.
I guess not. Chris Daniels came out for a promo.
By the way, as we get into Chris Daniels here, Vinny shows up today in like a nice shirt.
It's really sad, honestly, that
it's actually not really a nice shirt.
This is...
I mean that in the nicest
you're
way
looking
possible.
at this, like, look at how dressed up he is. I did have a sweater to go with it. It's just a button-up plaid shirt.
Yeah.
There's nothing fancy about this at all. But, on me, I'm Ric Flair in this shirt.
When Vinny showed up, I was like, were you just at your own wedding, or what the fuck is that?
Yes.
The more I look at it, the more I realize it's really not a very nice shirt.
It's just a button-up plaid shirt.
But anyway,
super fancy.
He shows up in this, and I said, what in the hell are you all dressed up for?
Yeah.
This is very un-Vinny. And you explained that you ate with your mom, and she got you that shirt for Christmas, and so you wore it.
Yeah.
Very nice son, Vinny. Now, I bring it up because Chris Daniels came out in an outfit. I'm a big fan of Chris Daniels. But what in the world was he wearing as the champion of the world? He had jeans and like a really weird shirt and a really weird jacket. It was a really weird getup. Mm-hmm. I can imagine Seidel wearing this maybe. I don't know. It was weird looking. But he looks great.
He got a great promo. Says he had his hand raised against Dalton Castle at Supercard of Honor. Now he has to face Matt Taven. That's his next title defense. And then he will be facing the winner of a 4-way down the line. He said none of these contenders are Cody. And Cody had jumped him at Supercard of Honor. And I know they've been doing it, and I understand why, and I get it. It's so weird to just call a grown man Cody. One word.
Yeah, he's Cody.
I get it. And at some point he did say he's part of the Rhodes family. He can say that. He just can't say Cody Rhodes.
You know, I know that Cody wants to be Cody Rhodes, and he feels that Rhodes is... Even though they gave him the name Cody Rhodes, and I guess WWE owns the name, he feels that because his father was Dusty Rhodes,
yes,
and he's his son, he should be able to call himself Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
Apparently it doesn't work that way.
Guess not.
But you know what? Is there any fan in the whole world that watches Ring of Honor that doesn't know that Dusty's real name was Runnels? I mean, could he not just be Cody Runnels?
That would be better.
Yeah.
Even Cody Rose would be better, because at least it sounds like a last name.
No, because everyone knows he's not Cody Rose. They know who he is. Just call him Cody Runnels.
Yeah. So Cody came out. Speaking of names, he said, a man who calls himself the Fallen Angel should be covered in stardust. That was funny. And they had a good promo battle back and forth that Cody challenged...
He had a much better suit.
That's true. That's true. He challenged Daniels to a title match at War of the Worlds in Hammerstein Ballroom. Now, I'm honestly not sure if Daniels accepted this challenge or not, or even if he has the power to accept this challenge or not. But I will say that Cody did a good job at painting the storyline that Daniels is the guy who is Ring of Honor basically for life, from the first main event ever to the current champion, and Cody is not even a full-timer in this company. So he set himself up as the invader against the guy who is the company's, in the broader sense of the term, the company's champion.
And they're being very clever because they're playing to the hardcores by saying, can you imagine if myself, Cody, not even a full-timer in Ring of Honor, came in and won this title? Because they're playing off, you deserve it.
Basically, yeah.
Cody does not deserve to be the champion. He's not a full-timer. He goes all over the place. He's been on TNA, New Japan. He's been all over the world. He's not a full-time Ring of Honor guy. He doesn't deserve to be champion. That's the heat.
Yes.
What a business in 2017.
It keeps getting weirder.
And then, thank God that they had Colt Cabana on commentary, because they go through this whole thing. And finally, at the end, Colt Cabana says, you know, Cody lost to Jay Lethal at the pay-per-view. He doesn't deserve a shot. I was like, thankfully somebody said it, because that's totally true. I couldn't understand what was going on when I watched the pay-per-view. Cody goes in there, he loses, and then at the end, he attacks a champion, and they're playing it up like it's going to be a championship match.
So
Cody didn't mention this in his promo.
Neither did Daniels, actually.
No.
Although, well, Daniels, all he knows is he got beat up by Cody and wants to beat him up back.
I presume that Cody will get some wins. He may even get the title, and if he gets the title, then he would feud with Lethal, who beat him at that show.
I see.
I think it'll make sense in the end. But right now, it is ridiculous that he's asking for a title shot.
Well, that's part of the heat.
Yes.
That's why fans will boo him.
He doesn't deserve it.
That should be the chant. You don't deserve it.
That's right.
That'd be awesome. Kazarian got a promo on Marty Scurll. Said, you better get your umbrella ready because tonight it's raining blood. Leo Rush versus Shane Taylor. So the group that used to be the Cabinet is now the Rebellion. And it's Caprice Coleman. And it is now Shane Taylor, whose partner Keith Lee, as they said, his brother has left him. In fact, left the entire company. So Shane Taylor now is single. He's enormous. He has a singlet. It's not very flattering, but honestly, I don't know what would be flattering for this body. But that's okay. I'm not going to bury him like I've buried, for example, Cassius Ohno or anything, because at least it's not white, and it's just not as unappealing as Ohno's was. More importantly,
plus he's achieved a size where it's his gimmick.
yes, that's the key. He's not just an overweight guy. He is being a guy who is this big, who can move like he does, and can go as long as he goes is part of his gimmick. He is the athletic fat guy. He's fighting Lio Rush, who is tiny. He had to be 1/3 of
They
Taylor's
claimed
size.
he was 200 pounds.
I laughed out loud.
I'm appalled.
If Lio Rush is 200 pounds, then Shane Taylor's 500 pounds.
1,000 pounds.
Yes.
Not 500. Easily 1,000 pounds if Lio Rush is 200.
Yeah. So it was the one thing about every match in the show and most Ring of Honor matches. The wrestling is really, really good, and guys are working very, very hard. But the pace just seems to be the same throughout. And you could take each minute of the match, cut it into this is like a 5-minute match. You cut it into 5 1-minute clips, shuffle them around. It wouldn't change much. But that being said, Shane Taylor, a guy this size to go this fast, as a singles now, he's not a tag team guy anymore. He cannot tag out when he gets blown up. He went like this and didn't get blown up. He's amazing. They went really fast. It was good. Caprice Coleman got on the apron. Leo knocked him off the apron, but then Taylor caught him with a chokeslam powerbomb for the win.
Man this small can't face a man that big. It's doom.
As Gorilla Monsoon once said, a good big man will beat a good little man every time.
That's right. Almost every time. 9 times out of 10.
Well, Gorilla was a big man, so he was going to be sure to say every time.
That's true. That's true.
So the Machine Guns came out to check on Leo, but the Rebellion beat their asses too. And Colt Cabana was on heel talking about how great this was a heel on commentary, talking about how great this was and how super it was to see these guys get beat up.
Shane Taylor single-handedly has turned around this Rebellion for me.
He is better than Caprice Coleman.
But Caprice Coleman is at least just there on the outside being wacky. Mm-hmm. That bump he took off the apron, they did a camera shot. I mean, literally, they didn't need to have a camera shot of him upside down on the outside with his legs straight up in the air on the barricade. But it was so preposterous that they made sure to cut to it.
Yes. We had the Top Prospects Tournament video package. And in the finals of the Top Prospect Tournament, Josh the Goods Woods, which is an awesome name, versus John Schuyler. So Woods, well, his gimmick is he's an MMA fighter.
Trains with Filthy Tom.
As I'm sure Tom will have a lot to say about this on his own show, but he's got the top knot, the tattoos, shooter shorts, no knee pads, and like sneakers.
He looks like an MMA fighter.
Basically, all he needs is the gloves. So they went back and forth for a long time. I guess tease finishes. I don't really know what the finishes are. And eventually Woods hit a Chaos Theory suplex and then a knee bar for the win.
Actually, he hit the suplex and then he went for an arm bar. He did like 5 different submissions, like MMA submissions during this match. And actually, I think what it was he went for an arm bar. The guy rolled and he went for an omoplata. The guy rolled and he went for a knee bar. Now, the transition to the armbar was great. The transition to the omoplata was great. Then he applied, with all due respect, since he trains with Filthy, the worst knee bar I've ever seen in my life. He had the guy's leg, like, you know what an arm bar is?
I'm aware, yes.
Let me back up. Do you know what an arm is? Okay,
Yes.
So it goes this way. You curl.
That's the plan, yes.
Yeah. So if you straighten your arm and then you try to straighten it more, that's an arm bar.
Right.
Okay. A knee bar should technically be called a leg bar because it's the same thing with your leg.
Okay.
Well, he had this guy's leg bar in such a manner that he was bending his leg.
The way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was fixing to just give this guy Geek of the Week immediately for applying this terrible knee bar. But then it occurred to me that the other guy tapped to it. So Schuyler, in fact, should get the Geek of the Week. What were you tapping for? He was bending your leg the right way. Now, all that said, they both did a very good job.
Yes.
But the knee bar's got to go. Like,
Or get better.
or just do the arm bar.
Okay.
The arm bar was great. The omoplata was great. What was wrong with everything else they did in this match? Nothing.
Nothing. So, Josh Woods? Woods is your top prospect. I got his name right. Josh Woods, yes. He is your top prospect winner for 2017, and as soon as he won, he was immediately jumped by a man. David Starr.
Yeah. Dave Starr.
And he laid out Woods. He congratulated Woods on his win and then talked about how he was the real star. Now, he had good delivery. He projected well. He enunciated. He's a good speaker. Is it just me, or did he come off as a guy playing a pro wrestler parody?
What did he have written on his shirt?
Taunt.
That's right, taunt.
Called himself the King of Taunt, I believe.
The King of Taunt.
Yeah. Don't look at me. I don't know.
Listen, let's give it some time.
Sure.
He said he was he said, I'm very good at professional wrestling.
That is his catchphrase.
And then Colt Cabana said, you know what? He is really good at professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So I'll take their word for it.
We'll see. We'll see.
But I was not sold on a man whose gimmick is the King of Taunt.
Yes. It was not a great first impression. That's what I'm saying. Adam Cole cut a promo saying he and the Young Bucks needed to get back on the same page. Kazarian versus Marty Scurll for the World TV title. Like 2 minutes in, Kazarian had an implant DDT in the apron, and Scurll looked to land on his head on the apron and then land on his head on the floor.
Kazarian is dieting like crazy, and he's in the best shape of his career probably. Now, I hesitate to think if he continues dieting, he may look like Jinder. So we all know all the dieting he's been doing. I'll be the guy. I am so over the Marty Scurll finger break spot.
I was just going to say.
I've given it many, many opportunities. It's an easy pop because it sounds good, but it never leads to anything.
It never leads to anything.
Have you ever broken your fingers?
Thankfully, no.
Okay, I have. All right. You don't get your fingers broken and then, you just keep wrestling.
Throw a punch.
Well, I mean, he threw a punch and then the umbrella got involved and
Yes.
Kazarian's grabbing the guy with one hand and he's grabbing the umbrella with the other hand. And I'm like, your fingers are broken, dude.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to do a spot where you break a dude's fingers, that needs to lead immediately to a finish that involves your fucking hand hurting real bad or something.
And
or the guy throws a punch and then he grabs, oh my God, my hand, and the guy rolls him up and pins him or something like that.
And the guy needs to come out the next week with his hand in a cast.
Sure.
Half this company by now should have one hand in a cast because Marty Scurll's broken their fingers. Or at least a splint.
Something.
He breaks their fingers. He's breaking bones. That's what the spot's supposed to be.
Exactly.
And everyone heals in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They're all Wolverine. Other than that, a fun match. Scurll tried to use powder. He threw it in the ref's eyes instead. And then Kaz had the win with a stunner, basically. But there was no referee. Adam Page tried to interfere. Kaz fought him off. But then he tried a cradle, and Scurll kicked him off, and Kaz went flying into an unprotected chair shot to the head from Adam Page.
It was more to the shoulder. I won't fault them for this one.
All right. And Scurll made the cover for the win. Daniels ran out and chased the Bullet Club away. And then Scurll was cutting a promo celebrating his win, saying there's no more competition. And out came Matt Sydal and his return to the company. And now they're doing Sydal versus Scurll. And that's that.
Yep. And then he's heading to Impact.
And then, I assume he's not winning against Marty Scurll then. Well, that was Ring of Honor.
That was Ring of Honor. Hey, let me play a song.
That's a great idea.
I got songs galore. It's from Adam here. A song by The Drifter.
By The Drifter?
About Jinder Mahal.
All right.
This I gotta hear.
They call me the Drifter. Whoa.
He's better than The Drifter.
This song's about Jinder. Whoa. He used to be slender, now a contender. His veins are a-popping, his pushes are flopping. Indians don't like Jinder. No. Canadians don't like Jinder. No. Ladies don't like a Jinder. No. Brian Lion don't like a Jinder.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far. That was an excellent tune.
That was so much better than the real Drifter.
He was significantly better than the Drifter. But that's the Drifter's gimmick.
It is.
So I don't know if this guy should have done worse on purpose.
That gets complicated. Well, NWA, as noted, we're jumping a week ahead because A, there was no show this week, and B, we're not going to have time to cover this next week, so we're just doing it now. May 2nd, 1987, for those of you keeping score at home, opened with a promo from the New Breed. He had a U.S. Tag Team Championship Tournament match this week against Bob and Brad Armstrong. They vowed to futuristically disintegrate the Armstrongs. That was their claim. Oh, the first half of this show. It's only an hour-long show. Man, the first half. Jimmy Valiant and Lasertron versus Randy Barber and Alan Martin. So you've got 4 wrestlers. 1 talented in Hector Guerrero doing a wacky Lasertron gimmick. 1 very charismatic in Jimmy Valiant. And 2 just goofs.
Geeks.
Complete geeks. You would not believe. I know it seems like we bury Randy Barber and Alan Martin every week. But they keep getting worse. They're the opposite of Vladimir Pietrov, who started off horrible and has now become bad. Barber and Martin started off horrible and get worse every week. I like it when the announcers refer to Lasertron only by his last name. Tron.
Tron
running wild, they said. So Tron, of course, was by far the most athletically gifted man in this match. It was not his best day. He fell down a couple times, so came back.
Yeah, he was working with complete numbskulls.
He was working with complete numbskulls. He hit the cross chop, and Valiant hit the big elbow for the win. This was amazing, and not in a good way.
First off, Jimmy Valiant is so amazing in that every single thing he does is big. He does nothing small.
No, he plays as if there's like, I don't know, 3 dozen fans in this building.
He plays as if the audience is on the moon.
Yes. He doesn't play to the back row.
No.
He plays to the people sitting up on the hill outside the stadium.
Yes. Now, I believe it was Alan Martin. Alan Martin was simultaneously competent and incompetent. Like, he would do spots where he was totally competent, and then he would do other spots where he was completely incompetent. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. It wasn't like, well, he can do the easy stuff, but not the hard stuff. Like, sometimes he'd do something complicated with Lasertron, it would be great, and then he would do something simple with Jimmy Valiant and totally screw it up. I don't know how to describe it. But this is my favorite tag team of all time. And this match was 5 stars.
And Randy Barber. Yeah, this was something, you cannot take your eyes off this, that's for sure. Nikita cut a promo. He's got 1 promo a week on national TV. He's got 7 days, I think, of something to say. His material this week is Lex Luger, you are not one of the 4 horsemen. You are one of the 4 horses behinds.
Wow.
Yeah. He vowed to show Ivan that he was the master of the Russian chain match, and also show Dick Murdoch what the sickle was all about. Lex Luger versus Jeff Belk.
This was the most... I take back what I said about the first match. This was the greatest match I've ever seen in my life.
On their worst day, Randy Barber and Alan Martin were many levels above Jeff Belk.
Jeff Belk was Lex Luger. Did you know that? If you go to Lex Luger's Wikipedia, where it lists aliases, one of them is Jeff Belk. I'm not sure how the New Breed accomplished this, but somehow they got Lex Luger and himself together in the ring to have a match.
This was like when you were playing a wrestling video game and you both pick the same character, and one of you has to have the wacky alternate gear.
Okay, for those of you that aren't geeks, this is like when you're practicing wrestling in front of the mirror and you lock up with yourself.
I like my analogy better.
Anyway, Jeff Belk was somehow worse than Lex Luger.
Much.
Luger tried to have a match with the guy. There was a spot where he went for a power slam, and he lifted the guy up, and then he stopped in midair, and then dropped him over his knee.
Yeah.
I don't know whose fault that one was.
I don't know.
I don't know if I can blame Jeff Belk for that one. But I absolutely, positively, I can't even say that. I presume it's Jeff Belk's fault to finish.
I've seen Lex Luger put the torture rack on guys a lot bigger than Jeff Belk without a problem.
That's true. So it was Jeff Belk's fault.
I think odds are it was Jeff Belk's fault. Lex goes to the torture rack, but Jeff Belk's weight is not over like his shoulders. It's leaning forward out almost over his head. So Lex goes to the torture rack, but the weight's all in front of him. Now Lex is bent over, running forwards, trying to maintain his balance. He fails, and Jeff Belk goes flying into the ropes and then collapses to the mat. At this point, Lex Luger quit. He gave up, and he pinned him.
He made the right decision. Because, like, if I go to torture rack somebody and they can't even go up for the fucking torture rack and they fucking put their weight forward, which, by the way, like, this is all the pressure on Luger's neck.
Yes.
And they fall off and tumble into the ropes. I'm not trying again.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cover him. So Luger covers the guy. The ref counts the pin. Fucking Jeff Belk kicks out at 3. Luger just gets the hell out of the ring and leaves. And then the referee, Teddy Long, goes over and basically tells Jeff Belk, just stay down, dude. Do not get up for a while. This was such a disaster. It was a beautiful disaster.
You really should all go see this.
This is worth your $9.99 for the month for the WWE Network.
We've explained it in great detail. Let me summarize in plain English. Lex Luger pinned a man via a botched torture rack.
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
That's it. We had a Dusty Rhodes video package.
Amazing.
What I got out of this was that Willie Nelson was in it.
Well, there was an appearance by Willie Nelson. That's important, but the video package itself it's one of those old 80s music videos of just Dusty Rhodes highlights.
Yep.
So what is a Dusty Rhodes highlight? Well, it's Dusty Rhodes hitting all of the heels with moves, and they fucking do flips. They're flying so high.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. It was amazing. You should have seen, like, the first half of the show, now that I look back at it,
the first half of this was awesome.
Astonishing.
Yes.
It fell apart with Brad Armstrong as usual, but if you go back and watch the first part of this show, like, honest to God, the best thing on the show was not Jimmy Valiant and Lasertron versus Randy Barber and Alan Martin, and it was not Lex Luger versus Jeff Belk. It was the Dusty Rhodes video package where he punched J.J. Dillon on the apron. Now, we talked about Starrcade 84, the bumps that J.J. was taking. J.J., like, I can't even explain the bump that he took. He bumped on the apron, and I think he managed to go through all of the ropes on the way down. It was amazing, the bump that this guy took for Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
It was awesome.
We had Ronnie Garvin cutting a promo. He's hyping up the U.S. Tag Title Tournament, hyping up his upcoming cage match against Jim Cornette, and this brought Cornette out to confront him. So he's waving his tennis racket in Garvin's face, and Garvin had started to talk about how he was wearing a towel around his neck. Now, he's been wearing this towel around his neck for years, but all of a sudden he's got a point to it. And he says, I'm wearing this towel so that they'll have something to throw in for Cornette or something. And that's when Cornette interrupts him. So Garvin takes the towel. It's hanging over his own neck. He grabs it by both ends, waves it over his head, then over Cornette's head, and pulls Cornette into him so Cornette can basically scream as Garvin pulls him in. Garvin lays his hands on him. It is all a trap for the Midnight Express to jump him from behind. So the Midnight Express jump Garvin. In the process, the podium hits the floor and gets turned around. Somehow, Jim Cornette ends up stuck ass first in the podium, and he can't get out. Eventually, he frees himself. Barry Windham comes out to even the odds. They are tearing the set apart. There's furniture flying everywhere. Signs are falling down. And they all brawl to the back. And the cameras are shaking because they don't know what's going on. And the announcers had scurried off to safety, but now they are stepping back into frame, laughing and cackling about how great this was. And Tony said this brawl was uncredible.
He did say it was uncredible.
This show was on fire.
This was so amazing, the brawl they had. They destroyed the set. Like, they completely destroyed the set. Cornette's bumbling all over the place. He's upside down. He's inside out. He can't even stand up. They finally brawl to the back, and David Crockett. I mean, Tony just looked at the camera and said, that was unbelievable. David Crockett is losing his mind. And you know what? He had so much fun in this segment that 45 minutes later, he was telling us how this was just the most awesome show.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, the last 40 minutes of this show have been absolutely horrendous. You're still on a high because you were right in the middle of a brawl with all of the wrestlers. That's how good this brawl was. I can't say I blame him.
In the U.S. Tag Title Tournament, Bob and Brad Armstrong versus the New Breed.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Yes, the first 20 minutes of this sucked. For, seriously, about 10 minutes, including a commercial break, you saw arm drags, arm bars, and occasionally hip tosses and body slams. And that's it. That's all they did.
I will give you that once they got the heat on Brad.
Yes.
And he stopped doing arm drags and arm bars.
Yes.
It turned around. But he did arm drags and arm bars forever.
Yes.
And you know what? On commentary, David Crockett says, this is an offensive tournament.
Crockett drove me nuts in this match.
An offense-based tournament, okay?
About 45 times. This is an offensive tournament, he screams.
Yes. And at first I was thinking, isn't that every tournament?
Yes! What the hell is a defensive tournament?
Well, the way he explained was, you have to win. I'm not helping.
No.
If you fight defensively and you go to a draw, you're both out.
Okay.
You're both out of the tournament.
So
there's no bonus time. There's no judging. There's no other way to advance except to win.
To go on offense.
Exactly.
Nice.
That's why he called it an offensive tournament. Now, that wasn't my problem with this match. My problem with this match is if it is an offensive tournament and you've got to win, you have to win by pinfall or submission to advance.
In a hurry. You must beat the clock.
Yes, you cannot go to a draw. You're both out. This Brad Armstrong, for 10 straight minutes, kept just doing arm drags and arm bars, dragging this match out for me as a viewer, and he's a damn idiot because at the end of the day, they're both out of the tournament now.
Yeah, they did a hot tag with 2 minutes left. Not even that. 1 minute left. Bullet Bob tagged in, ran wild a bit with karate, and then they did a four-way, and then the time ran out, and that's that. And once the time limit expired, the New Breed laid Brad out with the rockerplex, and then Bullet Bob made the save. And
it's like if this were real, shouldn't Bullet Bob go to the back and just go, Brad,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? That was a terrible Bob Armstrong impression.
I couldn't do any better.
I can't get that Southern.
It's a weird mix of Southern and gravelly.
Why'd you have to arm drag that feller?
That's better
for so long.
Because he's friendly.
You arm dragged him for 10 minutes in a match with a 20-minute time limit. Like we should have gone after him earlier. You should have tried to wrestle him and pin him.
Should have used more offense.
Should have used more. It's an offense-based tournament, Brad. I tried.
Yeah, I tried too. He had a Ric Flair video package. It was very poorly edited. Nikita Koloff versus Thunderfoot 1. Nikita's no longer wearing the neck brace, but still sold his neck when Thunderfoot attacked it. But it didn't matter. He survived, and he won with the sickle.
Whoop-de-doo.
Paul Jones came out in a lavender suit. And I feel like we should have stopped there. And to celebrate that Paul Jones came out in a lavender suit. And he said he's not there. He was out there alone. He said, my men aren't here with me. I'm here for something special. But he explained Eddie Graham and Florida Wrestling had always been big supporters of boys and girls ranches in the area. And now they were doing the Eddie Graham Memorial Show.
Boys and girls ranches?
That's what he said.
Huh. I mean, I think I know what he's talking about, but I don't know.
I think this is what the Boys and Girls Clubs in the South.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ranches.
I'm sure it's a nice cause to get kids out on the ranch and give them something to do and keep them entertained and educated. I'm sure it's a good thing. Point is, they're doing the Eddie Graham Memorial Show, and he put over he got a babyface promo, honestly. Everyone who's going to be on this show is a big star. He put over the Road Warriors, the Rock and Roll Express. He did say his own men would be there, and they would put on the best show of all. But basically, it was just a babyface promo about this charity show they were doing. So it was very nice. Okay, we just did the Crockett Cup, right?
Yeah.
And you had Baron Von Raschke and Wahoo McDaniel as Team Grumpy Old Men. And another Grumpy Old Man teaming with Tim Horner as the veteran, as the teacher-student tag team, basically, right? And the latter team especially, there's like a whole storyline going on about how Ole Anderson has recruited Tim Horner and he's dragging him into the Horseman feud, and the Horsemen are saying this shows how selfish Ole is and all this stuff. Well, Never mind any of that now, because Baron Von Raschke and Tim Horner did a tag match. Why? I don't know. They faced Brody Chase and Clement Fields. Tim used a sugar hold, which made Crockett happy. And he did some stuff, and then Baron hit an atomic drop, which set up the rolling reverse cradle for Horner for the win.
Yippee.
Okay. J.J. Dillon and Lex Luger came out for a promo. And this wasn't, I'm not going to tell you this is a great promo, but someone had a great idea for material. Lex is out there, and he says, the Horsemen get attention from women all over the world. In this studio, every show we go to, every club we go to, women are all over us. Then he actually said this. We get cards and letters every week from women talking about the great tans we have.
That's what he said.
He said this showed that they were great enough in life and successful enough in life to afford leisure time out by the pool, unlike the common folk who are stuck behind a desk all day.
Yeah, they have no time to go by the pool.
I guess not. Or a tanning booth.
They don't have weekends.
No.
They don't have lunch.
So he ran down all the tag teams. He's got a bunch of tag matches up ahead with himself and Ric Flair versus the Warriors and the Rock and Rolls and stuff. He droned on about that for a while. Said he was going to take the U.S. title from Nikita Koloff. Ivan Koloff and Vladimir Pietrov versus Jeff Sampson and Cougar J.
This Jeff Sampson. Where the hell did they find this guy? He was hideous.
Between Jeff Sampson and Jeff Belk, it was an amazing week for giant jacked up stiffs.
That's
named
true.
Jeff.
That's true.
Just
Oh man.
Clumsy oafs with giant pecs and shoulders and no actual talent.
All you need to know is Vladimir Pietrov is right now significantly better than Jeff Belk and Jeff Sampson. And at one point, he was the worst wrestler that Vinny had ever seen in his whole life.
Yes. This Vladimir is not. Yeah, it's not even close. They had a bad match because the jobbers sucked. And Vladimir pinned Jay with a sickle, which may have actually been fatal. I don't think he killed this guy. They went to break, and they came back, and Ivan cut a promo promising to beat Nikita in the chain matches. So he didn't even want Pietrov at ringside to make sure Nikita had no excuses.
I love he had a line about how if you're a great teacher, you don't teach your students everything.
Yes.
I thought, you're a horrible teacher. That's the wrong attitude. You should be teaching them everything. Your students should eventually be better than you. Otherwise, you're a bad teacher.
Had the Midnight Express versus Bill Tabb and Larry Clark. The Express won in a minute with a chop block lariat combo.
It was a schoolboy. I don't even think it was a chop block. One guy was down on his knees, the other guy did his move.
They've got a name for this that I forget now. But yeah. So Cornette hypes up the Midnights versus the Rock and Roll Express in the U.S. Tag Team Title Tournament next week. That's going to be awesome. That'll be better than the Armstrongs match. Cornette read a letter of support he had received from Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
Yeah. He didn't say Faye Baker, but he said Jim and Tammy.
Jim and Tammy, I see. He's ranting and raving. Stan is just sitting there doing sign language translation.
Yeah.
I don't speak sign language. I'm guessing this is bullshit. I don't know.
Well, he did the same signs over and over again, so my guess would be
yes.
it was not legitimate sign language.
Yes. So Cornette is on the verge of tears.
On the verge. He's openly weeping. He's openly weeping that there's no escape for him. He's done for when he gets in the cage with Garvin.
Yes.
And he'll never get in the ring again. He cries. They drag him off screen.
And there's Tony Schiavone. I forget what he said, but he had...
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
He
had no sympathy for Jim Cornette.
Didn't care.
He said something like, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back with more.
He moved on. This man's doomed. I don't care.
I do love, though, that Jim Cornette has been talking big and talking big and talking big and talking big. But now we're a week away. Garvin's still around.
Yes.
His men have not put an end to him. And now he's lost all hope.
Yes, Cornette, he no longer has Big Bubba.
Nope.
The Express have failed to take Ronnie Garvin out of wrestling. His lawyers have let him down.
Yep.
He's screwed now.
He's acknowledging he's dead.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It really is great when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. Ric Flair came out for a crazy Ric Flair promo. He always has his supporters in the crowd, but this week, 100% passionate approval.
Yep.
This was a Ric Flair crowd. And
He said, I'm supposed to be a bad guy, but listen to these people.
He laughed. I'm supposed to be the bad guy. They all cheered for him. They all squealing for him. He says he's got all the championships in the world, got all the money in the world, but he still needs Precious.
The highlight of him, he's going on and on about Precious. He's got to have Precious. He wants to see her naked body in front of him. He's got his wedding ring on.
Didn't notice
He did
that.
the entire promo, and every time he raised his fist or put his finger up, his wedding ring's right there in front of the camera.
What are you going to do?
Man, oh man, dude.
What are you going to do? So, he vowed to take out Jimmy Garvin, and he promised all the squealing women, none of them could be first, but they could all be next.
And they went nuts.
They were great.
They're all ready to be next.
Yeah. At the same time, they'd have been fine with this. Road Warriors destroyed David Isley and Mike Force in 15 seconds with a Doomsday device. Boy, this is a killer show, Crockett noted.
Yeah. It's killing me.
The Warriors cut a promo and defending the six-man tag titles against the Horsemen, and by that I mean Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson. And they said Lex was ducking them. And they also said Lex needed to learn how to do a proper most muscular pose and demonstrated what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, he sure did.
Every once in a while, Hawk gets technical.
You know, this was a very good Hawk interview for once.
Yes.
He wasn't just out of his mind.
No.
He had a point to everything he said. And then Paul Ellering cuts a promo wearing a hat from a local bar in Minneapolis.
Yes.
Phone number on national television.
Yes.
It's like, man, this guy got himself some free meals. Good for
I
him.
hope he got a beer or two out of that. Ron Garvin versus Larry Stevens went like a minute. Garvin just beat this guy up with overhead slaps and Shibata headbutts, and he quickly won with a knockout punch.
No, these were not Shibata headbutts. They were fake. And they were
You didn't
very
see 'em.
effective to this crowd.
I guess they look that fake to me. JJ and Tully Blanchard came out for a promo. They are no longer waving around a stack of bills. They have a briefcase, which they claimed contained $10,000. Blanchard runs down all the baby faces. He says, Nikita Koloff came to this country, he says, with nothing, and now he's a great star. Dusty Rhodes was the son of a plumber in the dirty parts of Texas. Now he's a giant star. The Road Warriors talk about how they came from the mean streets of Chicago. Now they're great stars. You know something about the Horsemen? We started out on top. He actually said, we were born with silver spoons in our mouths, and we've worked hard to stay here. That was the best line.
Well, you got to remember, the 80s, there was that show, Silver Spoons.
What, you know what that means, right?
I know, but
Yeah.
the point was, like, it was still a babyface kid,
Yes.
right?
But, yes.
It's the 80s. It's all about money. You got born, you were born with money. Good for you.
Tully Blanchard was convinced that it was harder in life to be born rich and stay rich than to be born poor and get rich. That's why it was a great promo.
I have to think about this for a while.
And then Jimmy Garvin wrestled Paul Garner. Paul Garner's Farmer Tan.
Yeah, Paul Garner is a big Abe Lincoln looking
Looks
guy.
exactly like Abe Lincoln.
Yep. He looks like he's been out
Been
farming,
working in the fields.
Legit farming.
Yeah. And Garvin pinned him with a brain buster that looked more like a DDT, and that was the end of the show.
If I ever get a chance to interview Kevin Owens, I got to ask him about his farmer tan. Because he has it on every single show. It doesn't matter if it's summer. It doesn't matter if it's winter. It never gets more or less pronounced. He has to put it on before every show.
I guess.
I'm convinced. Paul Garner, no. Paul Garner was out in the fields. And he didn't give a shit. And he wore a tank top. Came in here. It's funny because Garvin is not a very good wrestler. But he had a very dangerous finish that he never screwed up.
Yes.
Always looked great.
He's not a very good wrestler, but it's not like stuff he did was sloppy or looked bad. He just didn't do much.
He didn't do a lot.
Yeah.
And that was a show.
That was our show, everyone.
They go back to the announcers and they start talking about next week, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm thinking, so they got to be building up an angle here. Although, why would they be wrapping up the show early? Like, who's going to believe they were wrapping up the show early to shoot an angle? And then the show ended.
Yes.
It's just an hour long. Oh, well. I got another song. We got time.
We do.
This is from Jason.